Common Knowledge is brought to you by PureMTGO.com and InkedGaming.com. Use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout for a 10% discount on all Inked Gaming supplies and accessories. You can support the show directly through Patreon at patreon.com/common knowledge.
This is the Common Knowledge Podcast. It's not about the cost, it's about the knowledge. Here are your hosts, Brandon Clark and Lobbert.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 44 of the Common Knowledge Podcast. I am your host, Brandon Clark, and joined with me, as always, is my trusty compadre, Sean the Lobbert.
What's up, man?
What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing really good this week. Still working on editing last week's episode, so a little bit busy, but I'm busy doing fun things with Halloween.
That's cool. Good. I don't know. I'm not doing anything for Halloween, really.
Did I? I don't think I showed anybody. My Halloween costume this year is I'm Misty, and I have
from Pokemon?
Yeah. Misty from Pokemon, and I have the crop top or whatever it's called, the really short shorts and a wig.
Oh gosh.
I might put that on Twitter.
Oh gosh. Oh. Yeah, I'm just a curmudgeon. I haven't celebrated Halloween since I was 13.
Yeah, you need friends to do that.
That is true. I mean, I do stuff on Halloween. It just involves me holding a 4-year-old's hand and telling, go to the door. No, the door. That's a rock. Go knock on the door.
Garage. Okay.
Just take one. Just take one. Not the whole box. That's what my Halloweens are like.
So I've always had this dream of if I ever took my kid, who I don't have any kids, Halloween-ing, trick-or-treating, that's what it's called. Words. We're off to a great start here. That I wanted to make weld together a little frame or make it out of PVC of a little kid holding out his hands, and you put a ghost costume over it and nobody knows better. And so you set it up there next to your kid and ring the doorbell, and they drop two things. Yeah. Just standing there.
Double the candy. That would be pretty funny. Oh, yeah. I don't know. After I got to the point where I felt like I couldn't go trick-or-treating without being judged, Halloween just lost its luster for me.
And you
I
don't
just
drink.
really... Yeah, I don't drink. I don't party. I really am just a curmudgeon. I just don't like Halloween.
Do you like power rankings?
I like candy corns.
Why? It's the worst candy.
I like them a lot. They're delicious.
It's just sugar suspended in wax.
It's delicious. Anyway, we are a Popper podcast, not a Halloween podcast. And today we are going to be covering our October power rankings. So, the firstly thing that we do is the what are we playing thing. So,
What are we playing?
Sean, what did you play this week?
So I went back to the first deck I ever brewed that worked. I brewed some other ones, but they were terrible. Bomberman. I went back and started playing some Bomberman. Oh my gosh, I love that deck. Out grinding grindy decks, and then just also out grinding fast decks. I want to do another video on it just because it's one of the decks I have built in paper, and I think it's super good, and just no one else sees it. I don't know.
That's sweet. You should build it in paper and come play it at Oasis Games on Tuesday nights.
It's built. I just need to actually get up my butt on a Tuesday and not just play MTGO.
You got to do it. You just need to play 4 times, and then you can play in the Invitational, which will be on a weekend.
4 separate weeks, right?
Yeah, four individual weeks between now and January 17th or something. So that's like once a month.
What'd you play?
What did I play? I played Blue Black Delver.
Yay! How's it feeling?
Oh, it feels good. It feels really good.
That's good, because, spoiler alert, it fell off in the power rankings.
I know. And it's weird. I don't know. Like, so I went 1 and 2. So, like, my record doesn't indicate that I did very well, but I think I just got some weird matchups. Like, I got paired round 1 against Boggles. And I mulliganed to 5 in game 1 and had a very real chance of winning that match if my Delver would have flipped. I played a turn 2 Gurmag Angler and had days for his Solano Ledgewalker. And then I followed it up by casting a Delver of Secrets. And then my Delver didn't flip, but then it flipped the next turn. And then I attacked him and he was at like 2. So had my Delver flipped the turn earlier, he would have been at -1. And then that was, the turn where he went, oh, I drew a Boggle. Pants, unflinching courage.
Yeah.
I gain 12 life. Narp, darp. That's the Boggle noise. So, and that was like on a mulligan to 5, and I was just like, well, I wasn't expecting to even be close to winning that game, but I think that the Blue Black Delver deck has the tools. And I think the biggest tool is just Gurmag Angler. Like, it just puts me in positions where I can race unfair things. And I don't have to be like, oh, okay, I have a bit of disruption, and then I got to hit you with a ninja and draw a card. And, you're on a 10-turn clock, and hopefully I get a little bit more disruption.
And you just force them to assemble it faster?
Yeah, I'm just kind of like, I need like 1 or 2 pieces of disruption, and I'm going to hit you with Gurmag Angler. And then I played against, what did I beat? I beat Affinity pretty handedly. Like, that didn't even feel difficult at all. Having Edicts was nice too.
I bet, yeah.
There was one play where he like sacked a bunch of stuff to nail me with a Teamer Battle Raged ATOG, and I just gotta Edict him in response. And that felt really good. But it was another scenario where I just had put an immensely fast clock on him, and he was kind of forced into action, So he just went for it with his thing, and I was just cracking him with Sultai Scavenger and the Delver of Secrets. So
yeah, having those flyers to like close out the game after, like, God forbid the Gurmag Angler meets a board that it can't just attack into.
Well, and the deck has so much removal too that, like, between Disfigure, like, even if Disfigure can't outright kill a creature on their board, very often you can set up a scenario where you attack with Gurmag Angler and they like, oh, double block, and you're just like, okay, disfigure that thing, and then I eat both your creatures.
Yeah.
And what was the third thing I put? The third one was against Marasatron. Which I feel like that could go either way for either player. We ended up drawing that match, and I just conceded to him because we're not going to give the store a free pack, because it's pack a win, not pack a draw.
Yeah, but you don't have to report that to the podcast. Like, you don't have to report it as a loss.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We drew.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I still conceded to him because, I mean, technically I drew, but. So I don't know. I think the deck feels really, really strong, and I do like it. But my assessment, I think, is still the same as it has been, and it's kind of just play something unfair.
Yeah.
And Blue Black Delver kind of does something unfair because it plays Gurmag Angler, and like, it's weird to say, but that card is kind of unfair.
Well, that's not weird to say. Like, it's legacy power level stuff.
Well, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's just a vanilla creature, right? So to say that me playing a vanilla creature is unfair seems kind of odd to say. It feels odd to say, but like, it's true. Gurmag Angler is not a very fair card.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, Blue Black Delver sort of does something unfair, but I don't know. I'm probably just gonna, next week I might play Elves or Inside Out combo because that deck's so fun. But I still think this Blue Black Delver deck is really strong, and it was honestly surprising, but to see it drop down in the power rankings.
So one thing before we move on to card of the week is I didn't have the name handy last week, but I wanted to give J. Rod Silva a shout out because when I was doing my burn video, he was like, "Hey, I listened to the podcast," and I was like, "Great! I'll hold up my end of the deal of anybody who says this to me in a league or a lobby. I'm gonna shout you out on the podcast." So you beat me. He ended the game with like 2 hydroblasts and a dispel in his hand, and he just beat me. I even
anyone who can beat Sean is a friend of mine.
And I even started the match off with like, it wasn't like trash talking, but like I was like, I don't like your build of Affinity because it had like the Disciple of the Vaults in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the one because I played 2 Affinities right in a row, and I apologize if I got them mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that destroyed me.
I don't like your version of Affinity. Oh, I'll just die to it.
Ow, that's my fair. Skin.
That's sweet. So yeah, shout out to J. Rod Silva. You the man. You the man. So let's jump into the card of the week.
Card of the week.
And this week we've got a what is it? I don't know what to say for this. This is like a word for me and Sean are going to eat our words because we were wrong about this. I don't even know if we were wrong about this. We just didn't even ever talk about it or think it was even worth talking about. Again,
yeah.
This is the second time this has happened to us.
Yeah.
What was the other part? D2 Lava Runner. We're like, meh. And it just like
boom.
Yeah,
you're playing this all the time now.
It like completely changed the way burn decks are built now, but anyway, so our card of the week this week is Devious Cover Up. So we've got 2 generic blue for an instant. It says counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into the owner's graveyard. You may shuffle up to 4 target cards from your graveyard into your library.
Yeah, I think when I saw this card, I was like the first time around, I was like, 4 for a counterspell has never worked in Pauper. I don't think that the abilities, like the shuffle 4 in there, makes it playable. And so I kind of dismissed it, but admittedly for that Power Rankings episode, it was the one where I studied the cards the least. Like, I think it was like an hour or 2 before the show, I just ran through them real quick and made my list. And like, I have so many regrets about that. Like, my top 5, I feel bad about. What is it called? Surveil 2, Draw 2. Since that episode, I've really, really regretted putting that anywhere on my list. I think because mostly blue is just so good at drawing cards that if it's a blue card, like, you've already got better options. But Devious Cover Up should have been on there.
I think we even talked about that too, is that just like, if you're playing black, you're playing Read the Bones, and you're not splashing blue just to play this card.
Yeah.
It's one of the topics we had. But yeah, this is one too that when I read it, I just immediately said, okay, move on. But, this card's basically just Cryptic Command, right?
It's definitely just Cryptic Command.
I mean, it's easier. It's better than Cryptic Command, right? Because it's not 1 blue. It's 2 blue. So it's just easier to cast. So, like, strict upgrade, right?
Strict. That's the word I'd use. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exile. It exiles the spell. Strictly better now.
So, one of the things that we did not consider when evaluating this card initially was the threat density that it can give your library. It just gives you that inevitability in certain matchups where you just are always going to have a threat because you've just shuffled, 4 creatures that they've killed, or 4 threats, or 4 card draw spells, or whatever back
counter
into your
spells. Yeah,
counter spells, more counter spells. So it just sort of gives you, these just long-term inevitability.
Because okay, when I was playing Bomberman this week, I was playing against a devious cover-up deck, and it was blue-black. And one of my thought processes towards the later stages of the game, like turn 20 or something like that, is they've cantripped and like mystical teachinged so many times that by this point their deck is full of not very good spells. That's what I feel like, and I can kind of close out the game because they at some point fizzle out. But this guy started casting devious cover-ups, and I was just like, oh, well, that's a problem. It wasn't really a problem because I main deck Relic of Progenitus, but
But for the average human,
for
us plebeians that don't play main deck relics in all of our decks, like Sean's brews start like this. He gets out his pen and his paper and he goes, okay, 4 Relic of Progenitus. What else should I put in this deck? That's how all of his brews start.
A surprising amount have 4 in them. But this card is really, really good. Like, you get your deck like increasingly threat dense. I love that it doesn't put them on the bottom of your library. It shuffles them in, right?
Yeah, and we haven't even touched on... Yeah, so it shuffles them in, so I mean, you just have a higher chance of drawing them again. But we haven't even touched on the synergy with Mystical Teachings, where you Mystical Teachings, for something, you use it, and then you Devious Cover-Up, shuffle it back in, and then you can flash back your Mystical Teachings to get that card back, that same card back.
Oh, yeah.
So it gives you a lot of synergy with your toolbox effects and your alchemies and your stuff that help you to find these cards, because a lot of these, these decks are playing, 1 or 2 copies of a certain card, like the Echoing Decay. There's only 2 copies of that card, typically 1 to 2. Maybe you need to cast that card twice and you only have 1 in your deck. Well, Devious Cover-Up plus, Mystical Teachings gives you the option.
I feel like one of the deck building restrictions that this puts on your deck is that you don't want as many like Forbidden Alchemies or like Gurmag Anglers, because you want cards in your graveyard to be able to put back, and it's not until...
So why would you want less Forbidden Alchemy? Because that card fills your graveyard.
Oh, okay. So Forbidden Alchemy is maybe a little bit different logic. I think some of these lists are on the mill plane. Like Devious Cover-Up is going to make sure that I don't deck myself. As long as I can protect my Devious Cover-Up, at least one of them, right? I guess it would take 2, but I think people are also playing around with like Conjurer's Baubles and things like that. But
that's interesting. So they're just moving into this like almost like the blue-white standard control decks that their win condition was Elixir of Immortality.
I feel like that's
they're trying
kind
to do
of
something like this.
Yeah, I don't think that's 100% what they're doing. I think that they are probably playing some amount of Gurmag Angler, but I do think it makes it a little bit awkward. So I think it's going to take a while before we get like the best Devious Cover-Up list. But yeah. I think it's going to be like a staple in our format. I do think this card is very, very good from playing against it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all I know is I've got to go pick my bulk, pull out all the Devious Cover-Ups. So,
yeah, I probably need to find a foil one for my cube.
Foil Pauper Cube. First, dispose of the evidence. Then dispose of your knowledge of its disposal.
And then dispose that.
Dispose of your knowledge of you disposing of the knowledge of the disposal of the evidence.
Ready for the main topic?
Yep, Power Rankings, October version.
Main topic.
I was super excited about the format last month.
I'm still excited.
Things were shaking up. Things were cool, and now Scred Delver, first place, 58 points.
Yeah, by a margin again. It's back, baby. If you can, go look at the graph this month. Like, it's got its steady decline, and then it hits this month, and it's just like, we're back, baby! Like,
yeah, I mean, and it was just out in force.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was seriously, when I was looking through all the challenges, there was one where it was seriously just like 4 deck lists in a row. Just like 18th place Scred Delver, 19th place Scred Delver, 20th place Scred Delver, 21st place Scred Delver. And I was just like, what the heck?
And wasn't it in the same challenge that it won the challenge or something like that?
That might have been. It won 2 challenges. So it only top aided. There were only 4 decks that top aided challenges. 4 decks, right? 2 first place, 2 second place finishes.
Okay.
So of the 4 top 8s they had, they won 2 and then they got second, and then they lost and were in second place. I can't remember if they were both like in the same. Like, I know that there was one where it was like first place Scred Delver, second place Scred Delver, and I can't remember if the other 2 were the same way, if they were spread out. But only 4 top 8 finishes, but they sort of crushed the top 8s that they were in.
Okay, so I think I made up for my bad set review episode with my killer predictions on our power rankings episodes, because like I keep saying stuff and it keeps being right. I was like, no, I don't know. I think Scred Delver's gonna make a rebound. I think it's gonna be back on top, and here we are. Scred Delver's at 58, and then Morosatron is 37.
Yeah, I just recounted to make sure I was right, and yeah, it's 58 points.
That's a 21-point gap.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deficit, especially considering like where Morosatron was. I mean, I guess like relative to where Morosatron was last week, it's not different, very different points wise. Like, wasn't Morosatron just like around 43 points last month?
41. Yeah.
41. So a 4-point difference. That's not really much. That's basically the same result. And where was Scred Delver? Scred Delver was like 30 points or less.
Exactly 30.
Exactly 30. And 58 this month? Like, holy moly, guacamole.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of like Morosatron not being able to hold its number 1 spot, because that is pretty much like in terms of statistics, that's pretty much.
I think that's my point, is that in terms of the numbers, it's in the exact same place.
Yeah.
Scred Delver just like roided up this month and just said no.
Cast gush.
I went easy on you guys for a minute, and then you started to think you were hot stuff, and then I had to put you back in your place.
Started doing silly things with our format. Get out of here.
Help you remember who's the boss. Ban Delver of Secrets.
All right, so that's the sound, everyone, for when we've talked enough about Scred Delver. Is when you hear Ban Delver of Secrets, you're like, all right, the discussion's over.
Ban Islands.
So do we need to talk much
Ban
about
Popper?
Do we need to talk much about Morosatron? Like, there's not much movement here.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it did basically the same thing it did last month, and I expect it to be in this range. You know, that's just sort of what I expect out of this deck.
Yeah, and I don't mind moving along through these first few like pretty quick, because I think there's some more interesting things a little bit lower down. So third place at 28 points is Boros Monarch. That's not one of the interesting ones. I mean, it's a little bit low. It lost quite a bit of points. It lost 9 points. Last month
everything's
it was 37.
Everything's going to have to lose points to make up for this deficit that Delver gave us. So
that's true.
Like, everything is going to be down because of how much Delver is up.
Yeah.
Fourth place, 21 points, was Mono Blue Delver. And I feel like this one's actually a little bit up from last month.
Last month it was at 22 points, so it's pretty much exactly there.
I'm a liar then. It's still the same. Cool. Fifth place on 18 points was Affinity.
It did. I think it. So one thing about Mono Blue Delver is it maintaining that well, like only losing a point in the meta where Scred Delver just took up 58 of the 58 of the points. I mean, that says a little bit of something. Like Boros Monarch lost 9, Morosatron lost 4.
4. Yeah.
But the Blue Delver is just right where it's at, and I'm surprised that Affinity is up here still. That was one of the ones that I wasn't sure if it was going to stick around.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's been up, but
I'm still surprised it ever
Affinity,
left.
I think Affinity is just a good deck.
It is. It's a very good deck. We have the Artifact Lands, which are just kind of broken.
Well, and who was it? Because we were thinking like, well, is Affinity Hate just down? Like, are people not putting as many Gorilla Shamans? And one of the listeners came back, and reached out to you and was just like, no, if you look at the data, like the Mox Monkey is still all over the place in sideboards. Mm-hmm. Affinity is just a good deck. I think that's the only answer. Like, it's just a fine deck.
I think that's just right. Yeah. I guess the decks that have like Mox Monkey in them are still around and stuff like that, but maybe there's a little bit to be said about Stompy disappearing. Like, I don't know if one of the things I'm not sure about is I don't know if that's a good matchup for like what way that goes, because I know that Stompy might have some issues attacking through those big guys, but the sideboard hate is super real in that deck. Like, if you can, it's not Convoke. What's it called? Conspire. If you can conspire once or twice.
Lethal Sabotage.
Yeah, that's killing guys as well as lands.
Right, and I think also Stompy's creatures get more out of control faster, especially if you can put Elephant Guide on them. They could go. I think they probably go wider than Affinity does. I mean, Affinity takes sort of a minute to go wide, whereas Stompy just like goes blah, and then they're just like pump, eat all your things. And Affinity's like Dirtle for a couple turns, play a free Frogmite, pay 1 mana for a Myr Enforcer. I don't know. I imagine the matchup's not good, but
I think
it's also just it's also just speculation because I've never played the matchup, so I have no idea actually.
So if I was like held to it of like what are the better like combo decks in the format, like I think Affinity might be really up there. Like, it just has to put a Fling or a Teamer Battle Rage in the deck, and the rest of the cards just make sense because like Atog's good anyway, and then it's playing. I don't know if you were paying that much attention, but I assume it's still playing Metallic Rebuke.
I feel like I've been seeing that a lot less, but also just haven't been paying very close attention. I know that the last few times I've played against Affinity, they did not have Metallic Rebuke in their deck list. Now, whether the deck lists that have topped these power rankings do, I can't honestly say because I did not really look.
I think the thing I want to say now is maybe it's here to fight like Tron. Like, I feel like that might be a pretty decent matchup. And maybe Blue Delver. I think that might be some things that it's profiting from.
Okay. Let's go and talk about 6th place. And this is where some of the spice is. So we have a 3-way tie for 6th place at 15 points. We have Blue-Black Alchemy, Red Deck Wins, and Blue-Red Flicker. So I think all of these decks, with the exception of Alchemy, are on the up. Because Blue-Red Flicker was pretty much non-existent last month. Red Deck Wins has always been pretty low, like below 10. And I want to say that like Alchemy was around 12 or so points last month.
Yeah, you were like, I don't think in 1,000 years you could guess what was 6th place. And I was playing around with Red Deck Wins in my mind because I'm like, I think you wouldn't think I would name that. And that seems like one that could. So I think that one makes more sense. Blue-Black Alchemy is always just bouncing around in this range, so that makes sense. But the Blue-Red Flicker, I mean, previously it topped out at 4 points in April, and then had 0 points for a long time, and has just like maybe popped up as 2 points here and there, and then it's at 15. What did this?
I thought at the beginning it was Hypothesizzle, and then I went back and double-checked my facts, and not all of the deck lists had Hypothesizzle in them. And so I thought that might have been it, like, okay. And when I was looking at deck lists, I was like, okay, these all have Hypothesis in them. Maybe that card is what's making the difference, but not all of the Flicker decks actually had Hypothesis in it.
What are they doing? Are they just like flickering an Augur Bolas and
They
Mnemonic
have
Wall? Not or Archaeomancer, right?
So let's see. So I'm looking at this deck list here from Billster47, 14th place, yesterday's challenge. 3 Archaeomancer, 4 Augur Bolas, 4 Muldrifter, 3 Seagate Oracle, 2 Ghostly Flicker, 0. I was going to say Electrolyze.
Hypothesis.
I wasn't even close. Dang. Seriously, just drew a total blank there. And I was just like, is it Lightning card? Yeah, let me see if I can find a list with Hypothesis in it. Yeah, I'm not going to look for the deck list, but the deck list that I know I saw with Hypothesis in it did not have any Muldrifters in it at all. It just had 4 Augurs and then a couple Archaeomancers. And then it was just playing a lot more removal. So they had like a Flame Slash in their deck, just all sorts of stuff.
I think that's kind of what I said on Fight Night 2 when we talked about Hypothesis. Like we were talking about like it comparing to Muldrifter, and I was like, maybe that's maybe what you cut out. And you're like, no. No, the big argument was which one was better or something like that. I think we were arguing 2 completely different things, but
I don't even know. I think that you were trying to argue that you would cut Muldrifters for this, and I was trying to argue that Hypothesis isn't better than Muldrifter. And I think that we exactly both I think that we both agreed with each other's points. We were just arguing for no reason.
Yeah. Cuz no.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, we do that sometimes.
But anyway, yeah, I think it makes sense that if you need to make room for that card, Muldrifter is what's coming out. I think that we can both agree that in a vacuum, Muldrifter is better.
Yeah. Agreed.
I mean, I don't know. I still don't think that a world where you can play both in your deck is that far-fetched, Like I don't think that like I could look at a deck list and be like, I have 2 copies of Muldrifter and then 1 copy or 2 copies of Hypothesis. I just don't really think that that's that far out there, but
it doesn't seem that far out there, to be honest. No, but the one Hypothesis slot I feel like was over Muldrifter 3 or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Like instead of playing 3 Muldrifters or 4 Muldrifters, I'm playing some number of Hypothesis.
Yeah,
but I wish I could find another deck list and see if they were doing something else. But that's what they were. So yeah, the trend seems to be they either have Muldrifter or they have Hypothesis, just based on the few deck lists that I have looked at, and I'm scrolling through, and I wish I could just find another one. Here we go. Yeah, Hypothesis 0 Muldrifters.
Do you have any ideas on why red deck wins would spike like this?
I don't know. Not a clue. Like, is it good against Tron?
I think logic would say that it is.
Like, is it good against... Like, I imagine it can't have a good Boros Monarch matchup. Like, between the Radiant Fountains and all the 2/3s in that deck, and just the amount of removal for their derp creatures. Well, I just imagine that more Monarch can keep up with them and then just pull ahead.
Red deck wins is like it has Bushwhackers, so it can just assemble a board that eventually just has enough guys that are big enough to do a big turn. But then there's the Prismatic Strands and stuff that I think that would be a bad matchup.
The Lightning Bolts, the Galvanic Blasts, I don't know that it's going to be that easy to assemble a big Bushwhacker board against Monarch. Plus, there's a lot of toughness running around in their creatures to help soak up damage. I just imagine it's probably a stretch to create a lethal Bushwhacker attack against that deck.
Yeah, I think that was probably a bad matchup.
They could probably just not care. Like, you Bushwhacker? All right, Prismatic Strands. And you're just like, oh, okay, no, okay. All right.
I think the more that we think about it, it's hard to justify this. It's hard to justify red deck wins staying here. It doesn't feel like there's an environment that's good for that. So this is probably a little spike, and then it'll go right back down.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it could also just be a lot of people have decided that they just what they wanted to play for whatever reason. I mean,
but it has to win.
Right. I mean, it did pretty well. 3 top 8 finishes, 1 second place finish, and then 2 top 8 finishes. And then it had 2. So it wasn't even really that out in force. There were 5 total decks across the entire month that had top 32 finishes, and 3 of them were top 8 finishes. 1 of those was a top 2 finish. So I mean, it's not like there were just a lot of decks. The decks that were there performed.
Yeah. So it's not just people, wanted to play the deck. It's that.
Yeah, it actually won games and did well.
It could be like, I wouldn't hate, like, I don't know exactly how this goes, but I wouldn't hate having a red deck or a red deck wins deck in my hand if I played against a Skred Delver opponent. Like, that does not seem like the worst place to be.
I could agree with that.
Like, the Augur of Bolas's do really suffer in, like, being able to block when there are Bushwhacker turns way more than a Boros Monarch deck. And Boros Monarch did take more of a, it took a 9-point dive. So its bad matchup did go down and Skred Delver went up, and that doesn't seem horrible. And we're not sure how it does against Marasatron, but it's probably pretty good because it can finish out the last couple points of damage just by, like, popping them in the face with the Fire Blast or a Lightning Bolt.
We'll just see. We'll see what it does next week if it stays, around 10.
Yeah, I don't think 15 is where it's going to stay. I think it'll
honestly
maybe not back down to the 2 points range.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if it stays above like 8 to 10.
I think that's fair.
I would be surprised. I expect it to be around 4 points again, like next month, or just non-existent at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So those were our 6th place decks. 7th place, 14 points. Is it Blitz? And so this deck's up, right?
Yeah. It was 8 points 2 months in a row. It had a spike in July. It was up to 21 points. And yeah, man, looking back on July, that was a weird month. Like, Tribe was doing well, Burn, Elves. So, like, that was a really combo-centric month for some reason. But I have a hard time thinking about Is It Blitz without just, like, when I first started playing Pauper, I hated this deck. And I was just like, oh, you just did 20 damage again. Great. All in one turn. But, like, now I don't really respect it that much anymore. I don't like thinking about it a whole lot.
See, and I was the opposite because this was the first Pauper deck I built. Because I love Is It Blitz stuff. I played the Kiln Fiend Boros Charm combo deck in Standard. And then I were like, Pauper, come play Pauper. And I was like, can I play with Nivik Cyclops? And you're like, sure. So I found a deck list online, built it, and then was playing against John. And it was just like, oh, you played a creature? I'll kill it. Edict you. Kill that. Edict you. Okay, kill that one. Oh, flashback my Chainer's Edict. And I was just like, this deck sucks.
It's really bad against edicts, and that was like John's middle name.
I know. So I had the opposite effect where you started out just like, oh, this stupid deck. And then I started out just the opposite of like I was going to play it. And then after literally, I had the deck built for like one day. played it at one play session against John. It was just like off the deck forever.
Yeah, we were at Denny's.
We were at Denny's. I forgot we used to do that. Just meet up at Denny's, eat pancakes, and play Magic till 4 a.m.
Dude, I miss that.
Do you?
Kinda, dude.
I guess it was fun. I don't know. I like sleeping.
I didn't need to sleep.
That's true.
I didn't have to work until 4 o'clock the next day.
That was a wild time in my life. I wasn't married. I could just stay out till 4 a.m. playing Magic at Denny's.
Anyway, yeah, what is it Blitz doing? I don't know.
That's the wildest my life has ever been. That's when I was a bachelor.
So sad for you.
I took over Nikki's lease too. We worked at Little Caesars, and after our shifts at Little Caesars, I would go play Magic at Denny's.
Wild.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Alright, I'm done. Where are we?
Is this what a midlife crisis looks like for Brandon? Just like hysterical laughing?
I'm not even 30.
You're gonna die at 60, so like...
Oh, shoot. Oh my gosh, where are we? Are we on 12 points?
Yeah, we're skipping as a Blitz. That went a weird direction. We're on 12 points.
12 points. Tied. What is this? 8th place? Yes. White red rally and inside out combo.
So Rally Gone and Inside Out. Yeah.
I mean, not Rally Gone. There was no green.
Oh.
It was just white cards. It was white aggro cards. Rally the Peasants.
I have to change the points on our spreadsheet. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was surprising too. I mean, crap. Now I need to double check and make sure there's no presence of Gons.
No, I believe it because I know what deck list you're talking about.
Yeah, like Squadron Hawks. Yeah, just white creatures and then Rally the Peasants.
I had 12 points?
Yeah. 12 points. 3 decks. Only 3 decks. One of them won a challenge. Another one top 4 to challenge. And then the other one was just a top 32 finish. I'm going to see if I can find the winning deck list. That was easy. Found it. So, 2 Palace Sentinels, 4 Sacred Cat, 3 Seeker the Way, 4 Squadron Hawk, 4 Thraben Inspector, 4 Battle Screech, 1 Cathartic Reunion, 4 Faithless Looting, 3 Firebolt, 2 Flame Slash, 4 Prismatic Strands, 2 Rally the Peasants, 2 Journey to Nowhere, 4 Boros Garrisons, 1 Evolving Wilds, 6 Mountains, 6 Plains, 4 Windscarred Crags.
Yeah, this is that deck that uses a lot of discard effects for value. Like, it is 100% happy putting any of its Anthem effects and its Battle Screeches and Prismatic Strands into the bin, and
yep.
Like, it has Lone Missionary, right?
This one does not. Sideboard, nope. No Lone Missionary in this one.
I want to say that the lists I've seen usually have Lone Missionary, but yeah, I think this is a good archetype. I think this is kind of how Mono White has evolved. Mono White is on the list somewhere, but
yeah, Mono White deck, had like a point or two.
Mono White just doesn't work very well in our format right now, and Rally the Peasants is such a bonkers card when it comes to making tokens and casting that spell.
Yeah, Battle Screech plus Rally is Nutter Butter's Banana Berries.
Yeah, if you can cast both sides of Rally the Peasants, that is 20 damage.
Such damage. Much wow.
Wow.
But yeah, so this was first place from yesterday's challenge.
Oh, wow.
Janice Stone.
So I can probably say that we're gonna see White Red Rally in maybe larger numbers next month, even though it just did its win. I think the fact that it won is gonna just mean that this next month is gonna be people testing out the deck, and and like there's gonna be the little wave of like, oh, this is really cool, I'm gonna play that. So it's at least gonna be on the list next month, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see where it goes. I mean, it's playing 8 copies of 2 of the strongest cards, some of the strongest cards in the format between Prismatic Strands and Battle Screech.
Yeah.
So I mean, just starting a deck list like 4 Battle Screech, 4 Prismatic Strands seems good.
Pretty respectable.
Yeah, and then they've just got access to some good, red removal spells. I think it's interesting that there's 0 lightning bolts in this deck. It's 3 firebolt, 2 flame slash are the removal, and I think the firebolts kind of go back to what you were saying about their faithless lootings. They just want something that they can pitch to a faithless looting and get value out of. And I don't know, at that point I don't know, flame slash is just flame slash. They just feel like they need that extra point of damage, which I mean, I don't know that I agree fully. Maybe you can change my mind here, but I guess like how many things does flame slash kill that lightning bolt doesn't, that are prevalent?
We're now in a meta that has affinity back in it in a big way, and Blitz is doing well. So we need to kill
Mirror Enforcer, and we need to kill Nivik Cyclops.
It doubles the amount of artifacts that Atog has to sacrifice, and that's helpful. Like, yeah, Nivik Cyclops is like another big one. And I think the big thing that you're looking for with, I mean, we could go back to Bolt just to try to combat Scred Delver doing stupid things, but when you just need to delete something, Flame Slash is, I think, a better option in a lot of cases. Because you have life linkers that you just want to get in, you want to feel safe attacking with. You can't have a lightning bolt in hand and just kind of feeling silly when they have a little bit too much toughness.
Okay. I mean, they do have Journey to Nowhere, so it's not like they've got nothing to answer that, right? So, and I mean, the only difference between Journey to Nowhere and Flame Slash, I mean, I guess besides that they could kill your Journey and get your creature back, is just that Flame Slash is a single red, Journey is 1 and a white. They're both sorcery speed. They both kind of, to the extent that you're talking about, do the same thing, which is just remove any threat.
I think this deck is fine going a little bit longer, and at that point, like it has the life link to get it a little bit later, and so I think it does just want, like, it's fine playing things at sorcery speed. It can't. It's not so worried about something like hitting it and then not being able to remove it at instant speed.
Okay. I believe you. I don't think I'm convinced, but I believe you.
I'm not convinced myself.
I think I just have like lightning bolt stigma, like it's lightning bolt, right? And
it's
I don't know.
I mean,
we had the same conversation, didn't we, with Spencer when Mr. Spencer Howland, I think it's Spencer H. Howland, Spencer W. Howland.
That was James.
Spencer James Howland. All right, well, that's what it is now. I don't even care if that's not what it is. When we had Mr. Spencer James Howland on the cast, I feel like we had a similar conversation when I was like, why would you play Flame Slash when you could play Lightning Bolt? Like, what is the difference, And he had some good, what are you laughing at?
His middle name's Steven. Sorry, we were just nowhere near that. Sorry, Spencer.
That's James now.
It's James now. I don't know where I came up with James.
Common knowledge has spoken. I don't know. You were closer to me in the alphabet, though, weren't you?
That doesn't seem like it would matter at all. That doesn't...
If J is closer to S on the alphabet,
that does not matter.
Or H? Are you sure? I think it matters. Averages. The law of averages.
That's irrelevant too.
Anyway, yeah, us and Spencer James Howland had a very similar conversation, and I think at that point, even he had some good arguments, and I still just was like, I believe you, but I don't think I'm convinced. I don't know. I think I just have lightning bolt stigma, where I'm just always just like, why would you not start with 4 copies of lightning bolt in your red deck?
It's not a bad thing to have. You're probably right most of the time.
I mean, I don't know. I will definitely I can definitely understand why Flame Slash, and I'm not saying I dislike Flame Slash because I'm big on Flame Slash. I played Flame Slash a lot in formats like Modern and stuff. I just look at a deck list initially, and I have a hard time understanding why we would omit Lightning Bolt completely. And I can understand the Firebolt because it has the synergy with the Cathartic Reunion and your Faithless Lootings, but
yeah,
even still, I'm not 100% convinced. Anyway, we can move on.
Okay. Where are we at?
Unless you have something else to say about that, but
no, the only thing I would say is that I think I would go to Lightning Bolt if I had Lone Missionary in my deck.
Okay.
Seeker of the Way. I keep saying Lone Missionary.
Seeker of the Way is in this deck list.
Oh, I mix up those cards like it's nothing.
Okay, so you were like Lone Missionaries in this deck, and I was like, I guess I'll check the sideboard. Yeah, no,
sorry.
There are Seeker of the Way there's Seeker of the Ways in this deck.
Okay. Sorry, I get those mixed up on a weekly basis. I've done it I've been recorded doing it at least 5 times.
Wow. Stuff makes so much more sense now. You're like Lone Missionaries in the main deck, and I'm like, I guess I can believe it. But that seems odd. Yeah, this one doesn't have any Lone Missionaries. A 2/1 that
Seeker of the Way. I'm sorry. Yeah, that makes it a little bit less defendable. I know you can really do some tricky stuff with Lightning Bolt. So I think I'm on your side.
Take that, Spencer James Howland. Even though you don't have a dog in this argument at all. A dog in this race at all.
He doesn't even have his name in the argument. Someone else.
Oh my goodness! All right, let's carry on.
If a viewer
the other deck
Spencer
was
James
Inside
Howland,
Out.
it's just what the
guys. No, because his Twitter handle says Spencer Stephen Howland, right?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure his Twitter handle is just Spencer Stephen Howland. Anyway, guys,
James.
start tweeting at Spencer James Howland. Let's make that his new name, his new legal name. We'll start a petition to change it. I mean, I don't know, unless Spencer Stephen is really sentimental to him as far as names go, then I guess he can have it. But
it's his grandma, dude. You can't.
His grandma. Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's move on. We've been doing this for too long. Okay, Familiars. 10 points.
3 decks had top 32 finishes. 1 second place finish, 1 top 8 finish, and then 1 top 32 finish.
I've always been surprised that this deck doesn't see more play. It's so powerful. I've probably said that exact same thing.
I think it's just tricky to play.
Yeah.
I think that's one of its things, is tricky to play. I don't know. I think it's really obscure.
It didn't used to be, though. This was one of the top decks for a while.
Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't get more play. I don't know. All I know is Josh Hubbard, he plays weird off the wall decks, right? He plays Familiars, and then he plays this red-black Tortured Existence decks. And he basically just shows up and he's just like, I suck. I only play weird decks. And then he just runs the tables with Familiars. And people are like, what the heck is going on? And he's just like, let's see. they're just like, oh, I think I'm gonna win next turn. You have literally nothing in play, and then he's just like, let's see. I'll cast a familiar, and I'll cast a familiar. Snap. I have 8 mana now. Ghostly Flicker. I have 12 mana now. Prosperous Pirates this, and they're just like, you had literal nothing on your board.
And he's like,
I've just
now,
like seen.
now I'm infinite.
Yeah, and I've just seen familiars do that. I've been on that side of the table where I'm just like, I feel really good about this turn. He has literal nothing in play. I'm going to tap out so that I have lethal next turn. And then he's just like, oh, you tapped out? And I'm like, you have access to 5 mana. What are you going to do? Oh, kill me? Oh, okay.
That's why I never feel good against familiars, because I'm just like, oh no. Like,
yeah.
They always have like 7 cards in their hand. You know it.
I mean, I learned the hard way, but yeah, that's how it is against familiars. It's just always a sweat. It's just always like, am I dead? Am I dead? Am I dead? Am I dead? Oh, I got a turn. Yeah. Yes.
I respect this deck enough that I think it could be like I mean, I'm not saying it's going to. Back myself up a second here. I think it could be like the premier combo deck in our format. Like, its power level is that strong in my mind.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't want to say this either, but it might be slightly more consistent than Inside Out is. I mean, Inside Out just.
I feel like it's
at the end of the
removal, maybe.
I could believe that. You know what I do like about familiars in this deck, though, is it has that stupid Pharaoh thing, the God Pharaoh thing, the 0/4 that gains you life.
Yeah.
I really like that guy in this meta right now. Just a random 0/4 that just gains you 10 or so life over the course of a game.
And
that is a huge bum to just gum up the ground and block creatures.
Dies to Flame Slash, though. We solved it. No, I'm kidding.
We did it.
All right, I'm ready to move on.
Okay, so after familiars, I've lost track of what place we're in, but 8 points, a tie between elves and burn. Burn being this low is surprising to me.
That was a dive.
Yeah. I honestly was expecting burn to stay in the 15 to 20 range. I just think that deck is solid right now.
Yeah, it was at 28, 33, 25. Bam, down to 8. I'm betting on this rebounding.
Yeah, I think that it will. I think this deck is super solid right now. It's incredibly infuriating. And I probably said this last week, but Searing Blaze is a hell of a card. Like, that card is just insanity. It's one of those cards where, like, it just feels like it's on a different power level than what a lot of other decks have access to. You know, as far as what it does in the bird deck. You know, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a good Magic card. Anyway, elves.
So, okay, maybe Burn's down. I just want to say, because of affinity, that has felt like a terrible matchup when I've played Burn. Familiars is really, really hard, and Is It Blitz is also not good, from my experience. So that's my 2 cents.
I mean, even like the Delver decks, they don't have positive Burn matchups, but they can take wins from Burn.
Yeah, it's not like landslide good matchups.
Yeah, it's got some bad matchups mixed in with some fine matchups.
Yeah, Elves also went down, and surprisingly, Elves has felt like a really good matchup for Burn. I didn't used to think that. I thought it was that Elves had enough Well-Wishers and stuff that it just beat Burn.
Well, you see, Burn has this card called Searing Blaze. I don't know if you've heard about it.
No.
But it's pretty good.
Okay. So I'm ready to move on to Mono Black.
Okay. 6 points. Mono Black.
Crickets. Yeah, okay. Yep, it's a deck.
This is the one that surprised me. 5 points, Blue-Black Delver.
Holy cow.
What's going on? I want to find it on my thing. So, two top 32 finishes last month. One top 32 finish and one top 8 finish.
I want it to
So
dig
the deck
its nails
was
in
just
and not leave.
the deck was just gone. It's not even like, the deck didn't do well. Only 2 decks even made the top 32. Like, that's gotta say to me that people just weren't playing it.
That's fair, yeah.
For the most part. I would imagine that if it was being played like it was last month, it would have done the same thing. Like, I can't just believe that, like, the random 15 people that played this deck all happened to make top 32 last month. That just seems far-fetched.
Yeah, this deck going down kind of just reminds me that there are really good, and familiars, there are really good decks in our format that just people aren't that interested in playing, and so they just kind of sit there for a while. I really respect Blue Black Delver, and it kind of had its flash in the pan month, and I hope that it, like what I was saying is, I hope that it hangs on by its fingernails and doesn't leave, because I felt like it was a good addition to our format. Maybe Blue Black Delver trying to be a thing made Alchemy better, and Alchemy just beat it out, because I think that is probably a good matchup for Blue Black Alchemy.
Yeah. I only played the matchup once so far, and I did win that game, but I also identified pretty quickly that how important Augur of Bolas is. And I've actually cut Gitaxian Probe from my deck list and replaced Gitaxian Probe with Augur of Bolas and Preordain. So I'm playing Augurs in my main deck now. Because what that matchup came down to was like, oh, I don't have Augurs in my deck. Well, I never play my Delver of Secrets unless I have a Gurmag Angler. And then you play Delver and Gurmag in the same turn to try to protect it from an Edict. And that's because otherwise it's just rough. And so, I don't know. That's the change I made to the deck list. I cut Gitaxian Probes, which slowed me down a bit consistency-wise as far as playing Delve creatures on turn 2, but I think that it's fine. It gave me a little bit more long-term consistency. I think, Preordain is just better in a lot of ways than Gitaxian Probe, and the Augurs protect me from Edicts.
Yeah, and the Augurs will give you enough time against the aggressive matchups that you can do a little bit slower things like that. I don't know. Yeah. I hope it doesn't go away.
I think this deck is really good, and I don't think that its performance this month is indicative of its power level at all. I think that this deck should definitely be up in the, Blue Delver range of the power rankings. So next on 4 points, we have Boggles and Black-White Pestilence. Not really a lot to say here. I think these decks kind of do this. They're either at 4 points or below consistently. Did they jump up to 8 at one point?
Yeah. I think 15 is their ceiling, and they try to hit that ceiling, and then they just jump up, jump down. This is what combo decks do in our format.
Yeah. Then on 3 points, we have Blue-White Tron and Grixis Flicker. This Blue-White Tron deck, I think, is just fine. I don't think it's necessarily better than the Marasatron deck.
Well, but, no, I think it's obviously not.
Right.
But yeah, fine is a good word for it. It's hanging around. It's got its nails dug in, and all right, I'm here on shaky ground, but I'm here.
And then Grixis Flicker was basically just these blue-red decks, and then it had black cards for removals. So that's what that was. And now our 2 point decks. Rugtron, this is OG Tron.
Oh, gee. 2 months in a row, it's got 2 points. Someone's really trying.
I should pay attention to that and see if it's the same person consistently, top 32ing events. Then we've got Blue-Red Control. This was a super bizarre deck list.
Did it have Devious Cover-Up in it?
Yes. This deck list had Devious Cover-Up in it because one of this deck's win conditions, this deck's only win condition, was 1 copy of Jace's Erasure.
Besides Devious Cover-Up.
Yeah, besides Devious Cover-Up. And then it had Hypothesizzle in it, and its creatures were like 4 Augur of Bolus. And then
Well,
other than that, it was just a mess of counter spells and burn
it
or
is,
kill creatures.
yeah. So having burn in your deck at all, having probably 4 copies of Lightning Bolt like it does. Haven't ever seen the list, but probably has 4 Lightning Bolts. Having Devious Cover Up in your list all of a sudden makes that a win con, because you're just going to consistently start drawing those at some point.
Yeah.
And then next we've got Mono White. I think like Mono White being down here and White Red Rally is kind of like, yep, Mono White doesn't really do it, but White Red Rally, like just throw a Rally the Peasants probably in the same Mono White list is probably going to do it. It's probably going to make it better. And then just optimize that with some discard spells and you've got the other list.
Yep. Let's see. And then we've got Blue Fairies. This was an interesting deck. 4 Spellsetter Sprite, 4 Pestermites, 2 of the 2/3 for 4 with Flash and Flying. Glenalendra something maybe is what it's called. I don't know. But anyway, that. And then 1 Spire Golem. And then a bunch of counter spells and stuff like that.
Huh.
Yeah, it was an interesting deck. Then we had 1 Heroic deck.
I'm going to say real quick, I think Pestermite is terrible in our format. That's all I wanted to say.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think Pestermite is pretty much a terrible card in general, unless you have Splinter Twin or Kiki Jiki in your deck.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have 1 copy of Heroic. I'm not super high on Heroic, but I feel like this deck, just like Blue Black Delver, 2 points is not indicative of this deck's power level. I feel like this is a deck that should be up there in the 8 to 10 point range.
Oh, this is Pauper. It'll have its little weird months
where it just wins.
It wins a challenge.
Yeah, as long as it's not slivers. I like my fists.
So, like looking back over the last since February, we need to just go back and do January, so we just have since the start of the year just cataloged. Anyway, Heroic is consistently at 0 or 2 points, but it has February and August that it's at 12 and 14 points. And that's just kind of how our format goes.
I think that's a little high. I think that like 10 is on the high end of where I would expect it to be. But I would never be surprised to see it between 6 and 10 points. I think it's weird that we're consistently seeing it 2 points. Like, I just think this deck is better, and I just don't think people are playing it. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's great, but I definitely think that I don't think it's a 2 point deck. The 2 points are where we see weird things like mono white, mono blue fairies, and blue red control. And I just don't think Heroic belongs in this category. I think that it should be up there with, mono black and elves in this 8 point range.
It could just be under that category of deck lists that are good, but nobody's playing them. And that I'm afraid that's what Blue Black Delver is going to be, is this deck that not enough people respect, that is getting 2 points. And it's just like, yeah, because it's not good, but like it really is just not enough people are playing it to put up results.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like I don't think Heroic I wouldn't put it anywhere near like the top 5 decks in this format at all by any stretch. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's probably better than like mono black. It's probably better than Boggles, I think. I don't know. Maybe it's like the same as Boggles. Maybe
I think
it
it's
shares
worse than
the
Boggles.
same. You think it's worse than Boggles?
I do.
Okay. I don't know. I just don't feel like it belongs in the 2 point category. I feel like it belongs at least, maybe 10 is too high. Maybe 4 to 6, like the 4 to 6 point range. Somewhere where in a mix where we've got Boggles and Black White Pestilence and like mono black, it belongs somewhere in there.
Okay, so I'm sorry. We're over an hour, I think, already, but tangent time. So have you ever listened to Stuff You Should Know?
No. Should I know that?
They just do topics on like they just pick random stuff and just tell you about it. Like there's an exploding lake in South America. We're gonna tell you why. This is cool. They did an episode on I can't remember what it was, what the word is, but it's like poster boy animals, basically. And it was basically the idea that there are a lot of endangered.
Is that like a furry thing?
Get out of here. Get out of here. Anyway. So, say you have a whole bunch of endangered species, and you're asking people, please donate money. We need to save the pandas. Pandas are super cuddly. They're super cute. We don't want to lose the pandas, so everyone donates money to the pandas. But then there's like this really important like mud dwelling fly that has a horrible name. That's like, no, like this will ruin an ecosystem if this goes. Can you donate money? And people are like, I don't care about no stupid like mud dwelling fly.
I'm gonna give my money to the pandas.
Like pandas are fine now. Pandas get more money. Yeah, so I think that's kind of like, I don't know, deck lists need an appeal. They need to be fun to play, and they need to look fun to play. Like, and they also need to be good. But mono white heroic doesn't really do that for me. It
just doesn't.
I feel like I'm doing the same thing every game, and it may or may not work, and there's nothing I can do about that.
Okay, so mono white heroic is the obscure South African mudfly that no one cares about and is going extinct.
Yeah, and that could also explain why certain decks, like you could use this to explain, and I wouldn't agree with this, but you're like, why is Boros Monarch consistently up here? Because it looks fun, maybe? I don't know. It's a panda.
All right, so that's heroic. Heroic is not a panda.
It's a mud-dwelling fly. Let's finish this out.
Fly. Blue-Red Tron is our next deck, and this is probably not a mud-dwelling fly or a panda.
No, it's... This is a failed evolution. Get out of here, Blue-Red Tron.
Blue-Black Reanimator. I like this deck. I don't think it's particularly great. No, I just like it. I think that it's just fun. Personally, I like it a lot. This deck did not have Augur Bolus, if I'm remembering correctly, which I think is just wrong, because you need some way to protect yourself from edicts and find your exhumes.
Yeah.
But Striped Riverwinder is a heck of a card. And I think that's like the only thing that makes something like this viable.
I think with Blue-Black Reanimator, my experience has been it struggles to close out games, and you fly over it and win.
Yep, I think so. It's vulnerable. I mean, at the end of the day, this deck is just a turbo Gurmag Angler deck that has the way these decks are designed, and I think this is the right way, because before the decks were designed with like Eldrazi Crusher.
Ulamog's Crusher, yeah.
Yes, Ulamog's Crusher, and they would have Fire Breath in them.
Yeah.
Is that the name? That's the card, the enchantment, Fire Breath.
Dragon's Breath, something.
Dragon's Breath. And deck lists since have started, from what I've seen, they've slowly started to just evolve into turbo Gurmag Angler decks. And like the only thing you're really trying to reanimate is Striped Riverwinder, and I think that's the best way to go with these decks. Just play Gurmag Anglers, and then just incidentally, every once in a while, you'll mill something over that you can exhume with your Thought Scours, or you'll just cycle Striped Riverwinder and exhume that. But I do think this deck needs Augur Bolus, and feel like this list didn't have it, or it did, or its list was like 4 Augurs, 4 Gurmag Anglers, 4 Striped Riverwinders. And if that's the case, then that's the way to go if you're building this deck. Anyway, and then we had Stompy. But
get out of here, Stompy.
This was OG Stompy.
Yeah, it was like, it wasn't running Gurg's Companions, but it was like Wild Mongrels, no Elephant Guides.
Basking Rootwalla.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even know what to call it. I called it like mono green aggro because I was like, it's not Stompy. And Sean's like, oh, that's what Stompy looked like before Burning Tree Emissary was printed. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
interesting.
And this is the Stompy that I was like, this is the Stompy we need to get back to. Like, I loved this Stompy. Like, get out of here, Elephant Guide. We don't need you. I think we need Burning Tree Emissary. That's probably a mistake. but but I like this Stompy. And it's the only one that did well. So hooray!
Hooray! All right.
It is.
Well, thank you for listening.
End times.
That was October Power Rankings. Sorry it went long. We had infinite tangents. I experienced a midlife crisis, and Sean taught us about
Pandas.
mudflies and pandas.
Yep.
So hope you guys enjoyed that. That was educational. So yeah, check out our Patreon /Common Knowledge for all the great Patreon perks and the 5-card blind, which we're so close to doing, and we really want to do it. So give us your money so we can do it.
Yes.
Don't forget also to hit up Constructed Criticism on YouTube. You support us by supporting the network that supports us.
Yeah, they do.
Basically, if that network doesn't exist, neither does Common Knowledge. So go to YouTube and like and subscribe and do all those YouTube things and watch their videos. And you know what? I love Michael Hinderacher and I love Matthew Kling. They're great guys. They're amazing Magic players. But if you haven't started listening to Constructed Criticism yet, do. Because the new co-hosts for that are going to be insane. I mean, we're literally talking about the world champion, Seth Manfield. You're going to be hard pressed to find better information anywhere than Constructed Criticism when that gets rolling. So check them out on the YouTubes. If you would like to email the show, you can do so at commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. And again, huge thank you and shout out to our sponsors, puremtgo.com, for all articles and other MTG-related podcasts and things like that. And don't forget to check out inkgaming.com. They've got all sorts of awesome merchandise. And you can even use the coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout to get a 10% discount. And our network gets a small kickback from that. So get cool merch, support the network, get awesome podcasts. Win, 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 win. Sean, where can the listeners find you?
You can find me at Lobbert8 on Twitter, Lobbert, number 8. You can find me on YouTube if you just search for Lobbert. And you can find the podcast on Twitter by searching CK Podcast MTG. Where can they find you, Brandon?
Right now, you can just find me at bclark_CK. I guess you can find me on Instagram too. I think you just type in my name, but I don't. A couple Magic-related people started following me on Instagram, and I'm like, I don't do Magic-related stuff on Instagram. I just post pictures of food.
I mean,
so if that's what you want to see, I guess you can follow me on the Instagram. But more likely, you should follow me on Twitter because that's where I will talk about Pauper and the podcast and stuff like that. So that, and check out our Facebook page, the Common Knowledge Facebook page. It's been slowly growing, and there's always some fun conversation in there.
Yeah, so I want to see more screenshots of matches. That's my favorite thing.
Yeah. Henry, give us some more. I think he was the one who was doing it for a while. He would post his screenshots, so he should do that again.
Yeah.
Do it. Do it now.
Bye.